The Great Hall of Station Terminus was the largest room in the known galaxy. It floated at the center of the Galactic Union's territory, a massive sphere of metal and glass where every intelligent species came to talk, argue, and make decisions about the future. Today, the hall was full. Representatives from over 300 species sat in their designated areas, their bodies shaped by evolution on 1,000 different worlds. Some had scales, some had wings. Some were made of living crystal or flowing gas held together by magnetic fields. They had gathered for one reason: to watch the rating of the species to join the galactic community. Humans. Counselor stood at the central platform. He was an species known throughout the galaxy for their military strength. His body was covered in thick black armor, natural protection that could stop most weapons. His 4 arms moved with precision as he activated the holographic display. Images of Earth appeared in the air above him, blue and green and beautiful. "The species calls itself human," announced. His voice was hard and clicking, translated by the universal systems into words everyone could understand. They achieved faster-than-light travel approximately 40 of their years ago. They have established 12 colony worlds. Their home planet is the 3rd from their star, which they call Sol. The display changed to show human beings, a male and a female, standing side by side. The audience studied them with various eyes, sensors, and perception organs. "As you can see," continued, "they are soft-bodied creatures, no natural armor, no claws worth mentioning. Their teeth are small and flat. They have only 2 arms, 2 legs, and their sensory organs are remarkably limited. They cannot see ultraviolet light. They cannot hear frequencies above 20,000 hertz. They cannot sense electromagnetic fields or detect chemicals at a distance with any precision." Quiet sounds of dismissal rippled through the hall. Many species had already made their judgment. In the human section, 3 figures sat and watched. Ambassador was a woman of 43 years with gray starting to show in her black hair. Her face was calm, revealing nothing. Beside her sat Captain, a tall man with broad shoulders and a military posture. His eyes moved constantly, watching the crowd, assessing threats. Doctor completed the trio, a younger woman with sharp eyes behind simple glasses. She was taking notes on a small device, recording everything. They had been told by Earth's government to stay quiet, watch, listen, learn. Humanity was new to this galaxy, and there was much they did not understand yet. Gestured, and the display changed again. "We will now run the standard combat assessment. This algorithm has been used for 12,000 species over the past million years. It measures physical capability, reaction speed, natural weapons, sensory ability, and tactical intelligence. The result determines a species combat rating from Class 1, which is harmless, to Class 10, which is extinction-level threat." The algorithm began its work. Numbers and data streams filled the holographic display. Measurements of human bone density, muscle fiber composition, nerve conduction speed, brain processing power. Everything humanity was reduced to data. Watched without expression, his jaw tightened slightly, continued writing. The calculation took less than 30 seconds. Then the display flickered. The numbers scrambled. A harsh sound filled the hall as the system struggled with something it did not understand. Words appeared on the display, burning red against the blue background. "Error, calculation overflow. Recommend, diplomatic relations only." The hall went completely silent. Stared at the display, his mandibles clicked in confusion. "This is impossible," he said. "Run the calculation again." The technicians obeyed. The algorithm processed the same data, the same measurements, the same numbers. The same result appeared. "Error, calculation overflow. Recommend, diplomatic relations only." Whispers began to spread through the hall. Species that had not spoken to each other in centuries leaned close to exchange confused questions. What did this mean? How could the algorithm fail? It had never failed before. Counselor Myra of the rose from her seat. She was a small creature with large ears and wide eyes that could see in complete darkness. Her people were scholars and scientists. Chief Analyst, she called out, her voice high and clear. Explain this result. Move to the platform. He was a lithid, a being made of living crystal. Light passed through his body, creating rainbow patterns on the floor. I cannot explain it, he admitted. The algorithm encountered variables it could not process. It attempted to calculate human combat effectiveness and entered a recursive loop. The calculation expanded beyond the system's ability to complete. That tells us nothing, said angrily. Humans are clearly a weak species. Look at them. Soft skin, dull senses, slow reflexes. My youngest hatchling could kill one without effort. Captain smiled at that. It was a small smile, barely visible, but saw it and felt a chill run down her spine. She had known for 15 years. That smile meant something. Perhaps, said carefully, the algorithm is not measuring what we think it measures. The hall erupted in argument. Species shouted over each other, demanding explanations, dismissing the result as a technical error, insisting the calculation be performed manually. Through it all, the three human representatives sat in silence. Finally spoke, her voice quiet enough that only her companions could hear. They don't understand yet. No, agreed, but they will. Looked at the red words still burning on the display. Diplomatic relations only. She thought about human history, about all the wars and struggles and impossible victories. She thought about what humans did when someone threatened their families, their homes, their people. Should we tell them? She asked. Shook her head slowly. No, let them figure it out themselves. That's how they'll really learn. Above them, the error message continued to flash, a warning that no one in the hall truly understood yet. But they would. The galaxy was about to learn what humanity really was, and the lesson would change everything. Worked alone in his laboratory for 3 full cycles. He did not need sleep the way organic beings did, but even his crystalline mind felt tired. The mystery of the human calculation haunted him. In his long life, he had analyzed over 2,000 species. He had never seen anything like this. The problem was not in the algorithm. He had checked it 7 times. The math was perfect, as it had been for 1,000,000 years. The problem was in the humans themselves. He began again from the beginning. He pulled every piece of data about humanity that the Galactic Union had collected, their biology, their history, their culture, their wars. He studied it all, searching for the variable that broke the calculation. On the second cycle, he found it. It was not one variable. It was many, all connected, all feeding into each other in ways the algorithm could not process. He requested a private meeting with the senior counselors, was there, still angry about the embarrassment in the Great Hall. Myra came, her large ears turned forward with interest. Several others attended, representing the most powerful species in the Union. Activated a holographic display and began to speak. The algorithm measures individual combat capability, he explained. It asks, how dangerous is one member of this species? For most species, this is the correct question. Fight alone, each warrior proving their own strength. Avoid conflict entirely, preferring to hide and observe. The hunt in pairs but compete with each other. Individual strength is the foundation of combat power. He paused, his crystal body pulsing with soft light. Humans do not fight as individuals. The display changed to show images from human history, ancient battles on grassy plains, soldiers in metal armor standing in tight formations, ships crossing dangerous oceans, men and women in strange uniforms crouching in muddy holes while explosions fell around them. Observe, said, in every period of their history humans have fought together, not just as allies but as something more. They protect each other. They sacrifice for each other. A human soldier will throw their own body onto an explosive device to save others nearby. This is not rare behavior among them. It is common, expected, celebrated. Made a dismissive sound. Many species protect their kin. This is basic survival instinct. Yes, agreed. But humans do not limit this behavior to kin. They will die for strangers. They will die for members of other species. They will die for ideas, for principles, for the mere possibility that their death might help someone they have never met. The display showed new footage. A human firefighter entering a burning building. A doctor working in a disease zone, knowing she might become infected. A man jumping into frozen water to save a child he did not know. A woman standing in front of an armored vehicle, refusing to move. They call this sacrifice, continued. It is so central to their culture that they tell stories about it constantly. Their heroes are not the strongest or the fastest. Their heroes are those who gave the most for others. Myra leaned forward, her wide eyes reflecting the holographic light. This is the variable, self-sacrifice. It is part of it, said, but there is more, watch this. The display showed a human running and running across grasslands and deserts under hot sun and cold stars. The human did not stop. Hours passed. Other animals appeared faster than the human, but they stopped to rest. The human kept going. Eventually, the faster animals collapsed from exhaustion, and the human caught them. They are persistence predators, explained. Their bodies are designed for endurance, not speed. They do not give up. They do not stop. When they decide to do something, they continue until it is done or until they die trying. This trait extends beyond physical hunting. It is part of their minds. He showed more footage. A human scientist failing an experiment 100 times, then succeeding on attempt 101. A human artist working on a single painting for 20 years. A human politician fighting for a law for an entire lifetime. They are also pack bonders, continued. They form emotional attachments to almost anything. Other humans, obviously, but also other species. They keep predators as companions. They name their vehicles and tools. They become emotionally connected to plants, to places, to ideas. And when something threatens what they have bonded with, they respond with everything they have. Shifted uncomfortably. You are saying they are irrational. I am saying they are dangerous, corrected. The algorithm tried to calculate what happens when you threaten one human, but threatening one human means threatening every human that one human is connected to, and those humans are connected to others, and those others are connected to more. The calculation expanded exponentially, each human protected by many, each of those many protected by many more. The recursive loop of mutual protection exceeded all mathematical limits. The counselors sat in silence, processing this information. Their home world is also relevant, added. Earth is a Class 12 death world, extreme temperature variations, constant seismic activity, predators in every environment, toxic plants, venomous creatures, bacteria and viruses everywhere. Humans did not evolve on a gentle world. They evolved fighting for survival every single day. He deactivated the display. The algorithm could not calculate human combat effectiveness because human combat effectiveness is not a number. It is a promise. They will come for their people. They will not stop. They will not surrender. And they will bring everyone they know with them. Myra spoke quietly. What do we do? His crystal body flickered. Exactly what the algorithm recommended. Diplomatic relations only. Make them friends, not enemies. Because I do not believe we can calculate what happens if we make them enemies. Stood his armor clicking. This is fear talking. They are soft creatures from one small world. We are the Dominion. We have conquered 17 species. He walked out of the room without looking back. Watched him go. That, he said quietly, is exactly what concerns me. The colony ship Bright Morning carried 3,000 humans toward a new world. It was a slow ship, not designed for speed, filled with families and farmers and teachers and builders. Children ran through its corridors, playing games, unaware that anything was wrong. Captain stood on the bridge, watching the stars through the main window. She was 60 years old, a grandmother 3 times over, and this was supposed to be her last voyage before retirement. Her gray hair was pulled back in a simple tie, and her uniform was slightly wrinkled from a long shift. "Captain," her first officer said, "we have contacts on the long-range sensors, 12 ships, signatures." Felt her stomach tighten. The Dominion had not been friendly to humanity since the raiding incident. Rumors said they wanted to prove the algorithm wrong. Rumors said they wanted to show the galaxy that humans were weak after all. "Alter course," she ordered. "Try to avoid them." But the ships were faster. Within 2 hours they surrounded the bright morning, their weapons powered and ready. A transmission came through. The commander's face appeared on the screen, his mandibles clicking with amusement. "Human vessel, you have entered space. You will surrender your passengers as compensation for this violation." Kept her voice steady. "We are in neutral space, Commander. Our navigation logs will prove this. You have no legal right to stop us." "Legal right?" the commander laughed, a harsh clicking sound. We take what we want. Surrender now, or we will disable your ship and take your people anyway." Looked at her crew. Young officers, most of them, scared but trying not to show it. She thought about the 3,000 people on her ship, the families, the children. "I need time to consult with my passengers," she said. "You have 1 hour." The transmission ended. Sent an emergency message to Earth, to the Union, to every human ship in range. Then she walked through her ship, talking to her passengers, explaining the situation. She expected panic. She expected crying and screaming and demands to surrender. Instead, she found something else. A farmer named 65 years old, with hands rough from decades of work, looked at her calmly. "We don't surrender our people," he said. "That's not what we do." A teacher named, surrounded by her young students, nodded in agreement. "We'll wait, help will come." A teenage boy named stood up than had ever seen. "What can I do to help, Captain?" This happened everywhere she went. Fear, yes, but not surrender, not giving up. 3,000 people facing 12 warships, and not one of them suggested abandoning each other. Returned to the bridge with tears in her eyes. The hour passed. The commander demanded surrender again, refused. They disabled the bright morning's engines with precise weapons fire. The ship drifted, helpless. Boarding parties prepared to launch. Then the sensors detected a new contact. A single human vessel emerged from faster-than-light travel at the edge of the system. It was small, a patrol ship, barely armed. It broadcast one message on all frequencies. "This is Captain of the Earth Vessel Persistence. You have our people. You have 12 hours to release them unharmed. This is not a negotiation." The commander laughed again. "One ship. You send one ship against 12. Humans truly are as weak as we believed." Did not respond to the insult. His ship simply sat there watching. Hour by hour, more contacts appeared on the sensors. A mining ship from the asteroid belt changing course to intercept. A cargo freighter that had been heading toward the opposite side of the galaxy, turning around. A science vessel studying a nearby nebula, leaving its research behind. Transport ships, passenger liners, construction vessels, personal shuttles. By the 6th hour, there were 30 human ships around the position. By the 10th hour, there were 50. None of them were warships. These were ordinary ships, crewed by ordinary humans, traders and miners and scientists and families. Some of them were old, barely able to travel at faster-than-light speed. Some of them had no weapons at all. They came anyway. The commander received reports from his sensor officers, his voice growing less confident with each update. "What are they doing? They cannot possibly attack us." Second message came at the 11-hour mark. "Commander, you have taken 3,000 of our people. As you can see, we have responded. We are not warships. We are teachers, miners, traders, and families. But those are our people on that ship. Release them or we will find a way." "You have no weapons," the commander shouted. "You cannot threaten us." "We are not threatening you. We are telling you the truth. Those are our people. We will not leave without them." A human freighter moved closer to the formation. The commander ordered his ships to fire a warning shot. The freighter took damage to its hull, losing atmosphere from 2 compartments. The crew sealed the breach and kept coming. The freighter broadcast video of its crew, ordinary humans. A woman named a trader looking at the weapons pointed at her face. Her hands were shaking. She was clearly terrified. But she was still there. 60 ships now, Commander, an officer reported. 70, they are still coming. The commander looked at his tactical display. His 12 warships were surrounded by a growing sphere of human vessels. None of them were a military threat. All of them were watching, witnessing. He thought about what would happen if he destroyed them all, killed thousands of unarmed humans, what the galaxy would see, what the Galactic Union would say, what would happen next when the human warships came. Because they would come, he understood that now. If he killed these humans, more would come, and more, and more. They would not stop, they would not surrender, they would not leave their people behind. "Prepare the hostages for release," the commander said quietly. His officers stared at him. "Commander." "Do it, now, before more of them arrive." Within the hour, the passengers of the Bright Morning were returned to their ship, unharmed. The patrol retreated. The human vessels remained until the Bright Morning's engines were repaired, then escorted her safely to her destination. The terrified trader was interviewed by news services from across the galaxy. They asked her why she came, why she risked her life for strangers she had never met. She thought about it for a long moment. "Because they're ours," she said simply. "That's what we do. We come for our people. We always have." The great hall of Station Terminus was full again, but the atmosphere was different now. Before, the assembled species had looked at humanity with confusion and dismissal. Now they looked with something closer to fear, or perhaps respect. It was hard to tell the difference sometimes. The footage of the standoff had spread across the entire galaxy. Every species had seen it. The warships, the disabled colony ship, and then the human vessels arriving one by one, ordinary ships crewed by ordinary people, surrounding a superior military force through sheer numbers and stubborn refusal to leave. The Dominion had demanded an emergency session. They wanted sanctions against humanity for what they called aggressive intimidation and interference with lawful enforcement. Their representatives stood at the central platform, clicking and hissing with anger. Ambassador sat in the human section with and beside her. She watched the accusations calmly. She had prepared for this. "The humans surrounded our patrol with nearly 100 vessels," the representative declared. "This was clearly a military action disguised as civilian activity. We demand—" "I have a question," Counselor Myra interrupted. Her voice was soft, but it carried through the hall. "How many weapons did those human vessels fire?" The representative paused. "What? Weapons? How many shots did the human fleet fire at your patrol?" "Silence." "None," Myra answered herself. "They fired none. Your patrol, however, fired upon an unarmed freighter, causing significant damage and nearly killing the crew. Is this accurate?" The representative's mandibles clicked uncomfortably. "A warning shot, standard procedure." "And yet the freighter continued toward your position, even after being fired upon, even with damage to their hull." Myra turned to face the assembly. "I have watched this footage many times. I have studied human behavior for decades, and I believe I understand what happened here." She activated her own holographic display. It showed the human ships arriving, one after another, their names and registry information listed beside each vessel. "These are not warships. This is the Sunshine Garden, a botanical research vessel. This is the Lucky Star, a personal yacht belonging to a retired human couple. This is the Young Mountain, a cargo freighter carrying food supplies to a colony. These are teachers and farmers and traders and children. The images continued, ship after ship, face after face, ordinary humans. They received a distress call from strangers. Many of them were days away, traveling in the opposite direction. They had jobs to do, schedules to keep, lives to live, and they turned around. They dropped everything and came. Myra's voice grew quieter. The patrol had 12 warships, weapons capable of destroying cities, armor that could withstand almost any attack. They faced a fleet of cargo ships and passenger liners, and they retreated. She turned to look directly at the representative. You did not retreat because you retreated because you were afraid. You looked at those ordinary humans, those teachers and farmers and traders, and you saw something that frightened you. You saw people who would die rather than abandon strangers. You saw people who kept coming even when you fired at them. And you understood, perhaps for the first time, what it would mean to truly fight humanity. The hall was absolutely silent. Elder of the rose slowly. She was very old, her fur gray and her movements careful. She had seen empires rise and fall. She had witnessed the Dominion at the height of its cruelty. She had thought nothing could surprise her anymore. I have lived 400 years, she said. I have studied war and peace, conquest and cooperation. I have seen species that were strong and species that were weak, but I have never seen anything like these humans. She moved to the center of the platform, her ancient eyes finding the human delegation. You sent civilians, not soldiers, not warships, civilians, and they came. All of them came. For strangers they had never met, whose names they did not know. They risked their lives knowing they could die, and they came anyway. Paused, breathing slowly. Our algorithm could not calculate human combat effectiveness because we were measuring the wrong thing. We measured their strength, their speed, their weapons. We did not measure their hearts. We did not measure their refusal to abandon each other. We did not measure what they are willing to sacrifice for people they have never met. She turned to address the full assembly. Humans are not a Class 4 threat. They are not a Class 10 threat. They are something our system cannot classify, because their power is not in their bodies or their weapons. Their power is in their connection to each other. Threaten one human and you threaten all humans. Hurt one human and you will face every human who ever lived and every human who will ever live. Not because they are commanded to respond, not because they expect reward, but because that is simply what they do. Ambassador rose from her seat. The hall turned to watch her. Counselor honors us with her words, said quietly, but I must add something important. Those civilians who came to help, they were not warriors. They were not brave soldiers without fear. They were scared. Many of them were terrified. A trader named told me afterward that she had never been so frightened in her entire life. Let that sit for a moment. She came anyway. That is not because humans are special or better than others. It is because we know what it feels like to be alone. We know what it means to need help. So when others need help, we go. Because in our history, someone always came for us. Someone always helped. And we learned that the only way to survive is together. Doctor stepped forward. In our culture, we have many sayings about this, but the simplest one is, no one fights alone. We learned this through thousands of years of war and suffering. We learned it because we had to, and now it is part of who we are. The vote happened that same day. The motion to sanction humanity failed completely. Not one species supported it, not even the Dominion's closest allies. Instead, a new motion was proposed, granting humanity full diplomatic status in the Galactic Union, bypassing the standard 3-century waiting period. It passed unanimously. The combat rating for humanity remained unchanged in the official records. Error, calculation overflow, recommend diplomatic relations only. But now everyone understood what those words really meant. 50 years passed like water flowing downhill, steady and unstoppable. The galaxy changed in ways no one had predicted. Humanity spread through the stars, not as conquerors seeking power, but as something else entirely. Something the galaxy had never seen before. Human ships became famous for answering any distress call. It did not matter who was in trouble. Mining vessels losing atmosphere. Science stations caught in meteor storms. Species that had no name for friendship. Species that had never asked for help before in their entire history. When they sent a signal, human ships came. "Why do you help us?" a lithoid captain asked after humans rescued his crew from a dying ship. "We have nothing to offer you. We cannot repay this debt." The human captain, a young woman named, looked confused by the question. "There is no debt," she said. "You needed help. We were nearby, that is all." This happened again and again, across thousands of worlds and millions of kilometers. Humans showed up. Humans helped. Humans asked for nothing in return except the chance to share a meal afterward, to exchange stories, to learn new songs and teach old ones. Human colonies became places of refuge. When the collective fell into civil war, 3 million refugees fled into human space. They expected to be turned away or enslaved or forced to work. Instead, they found camps with clean water and warm food. They found human doctors treating their wounded. They found human children playing with hatchlings, teaching them games, unafraid of their scales and fangs. "Why are you not afraid of us?" an elder asked a human teacher named. "Should I be?" asked, honestly curious. "We are predators, we have claws and teeth, we are dangerous." Laughed gently. "So was my grandmother's cat. She was very small and very angry and she bit everyone. We loved her anyway." The elder did not understand, but over the following years, watching humans interact with every species they met, he began to. Humans were pack bonders. They formed emotional connections to everything. Give them enough time and they would adopt anyone into their family. They would love anything that let them close enough. The Dominion took longer to change. Pride ran deep in their culture. They had been conquerors for 1,000 generations. Admitting weakness was not in their nature. But weakness was not what humanity offered them. 20 years after the standoff, a colony world suffered a massive earthquake. Cities fell. Millions were trapped. The fleet was stretched thin, unable to respond quickly enough. Human ships arrived within hours. Not warships. Rescue vessels, medical transports, construction ships filled with engineers and equipment. The governor watched humans pull his people from the rubble, watched human doctors treat wounded, watched human children comfort hatchlings who had lost their parents. "I do not understand you," the governor admitted to the human mission commander, an old man named with kind eyes and hands. "What do you not understand? We threatened your people, we held them hostage, we would have enslaved them if we could, and now you save ours." Was quiet for a long moment. "My grandmother lived through a great war when she was young. Her country was invaded. Terrible things happened. Later, after the war ended, the invaders sent aid to help rebuild, food and medicine and teachers." He looked at the governor. "She asked the same question you just asked. Why help the people who hurt you?" And someone told her, "Because the children of your enemies are not your enemies. They are just children. And maybe, if we help them grow up with kindness instead of hatred, their children will be different." Gestured at the rescue work happening around them. That was many generations ago. The people who were enemies became friends, then family. Then they were just people no different from anyone else. It takes time, but it works. The Dominion formally requested human assistance in reforming their society 3 years later. It took 3 generations to undo 1,000 generations of conquest culture. It was slow and difficult and sometimes painful, but the learn to build instead of destroy, to protect instead of attack, to bond instead of dominate. Old Counselor wrote a memoir near the end of his life. He was very old by then, his armor faded and cracked, his movements slow. But his mind was still sharp, and his words traveled across the galaxy. "I have studied humans for 60 years," he wrote. "I still do not fully understand them. They are fragile yet unbreakable. They are fearful yet fearless. They weep for strangers and laugh at death. They make no logical sense by any measurement I know, and yet they are the best of us. They showed us what we could become, and they waited while we became it." On Earth, in a small garden in the coastal city of, an elderly woman sat watching children play. Her name was the same traitor who had faced weapons 50 years before. Her hands did not shake anymore. She had made peace with fear long ago. A young diplomat approached her nervously. Relations between humans and were good now, but history was not easily forgotten. "Grandmother," the diplomat said, using the human honorific carefully, "I have studied your people's history. I wanted to ask you something." "Ask," said smiling. "Were you not angry at us, at my people, after what we did?" Thought about it, she remembered the fear, the way her hands had trembled as the weapons powered up, the certainty that she was about to die. "I was terrified," she said honestly. "And yes, I was angry. For a long time I was very angry." "What changed?" "My grandmother taught me something when I was young. She said anger is like a fire. You can let it burn everything you love, or you can use it to keep yourself warm while you build something new." She looked at the young diplomat, at his uncertain posture, at the hope hidden behind his compound eyes. "You are here now," she said, asking questions, trying to understand, learning from the past instead of repeating it. "That means you are ready to sit at the table with us." She stood slowly, her old bones protesting. "Come inside. I will make tea, and then you will tell me about your grandmother and I will tell you about mine. And maybe, when we are done, we will both understand each other a little better." The diplomat followed her inside. Across the galaxy, in 1,000 small moments like this one, humanity continued its quiet work. Not conquering, not dominating, just showing up, just being there, just refusing to let anyone fight alone. The combat rating for humans was never changed in the official records. It remained as it had been since the beginning. Error. Calculation overflow. Recommend diplomatic relations only. But somewhere in a footnote added by an anonymous clerk, someone had written, "Because they will come for their people, all of them, always, and that is something we cannot fight." It was the most accurate assessment of humanity the galaxy had ever produced.